like, sure. But I don't
Sweet
know.
potatoes
Yeah,
are
but just
so
embrace.
good.
They are so, and like, especially the purple one. I don't know if you ever tried them, the
Yeah, the
Japanese one.
Japanese ones.
They, like, I literally think they taste like cake. I'd put some cinnamon on it sometimes and then like ghee
Yeah.
and like salt and boom.
No,
It's
exactly.
cute.
I eat like basically quinoa potatoes and sweet potatoes and just cycle them
Yeah.
through. And my
Okay.
favorite is any type of sweet potato, white, orange, purple, anything like
Yeah.
that. Olive oil, some cinnamon, and
So,
then
so
just bake
good.
it until it's nice and soft in the middle.
Yeah. Perfect. How long do you usually bake it for? I've been
I
trying to
got
like
an air
find the perfect.
fryer.
Oh, yes. That's what I do too.
I got like one of those Ninja ones.
Oh,
So
same, same.
yeah. Do you have the
Yeah.
double one?
No, I just have one. It's like
I
single. But how long do you do it for?
Um, so I do it at 315. So I
Okay.
bump it down like 10
Okay.
degrees off the normal bake, which I think is 325. And
Okay.
then I'll do it for a little over like 22 minutes,
Oh, okay.
23. But I will like every so often like shake them so they don't stick to the thing.
Oh, when you're like cutting them up.
Yeah.
Gotcha,
And
gotcha.
then like the last 4 minutes, I'll turn the temperature super high and I'll go
Gotcha.
up to like 400, 350, 395,
Ooh,
something like that,
that's good. I
and then
know. I
cook
feel
it.
like I've been making it where you don't like make it in squares. Like I kind of just put in the whole thing and I try to get it
Oh,
like mushy on the inside. So I'll do like 20 minutes or like because mine only goes up, you can only do it for 20 minutes for some reason. So I'll do it for like at like 400 for 20 and then do it for another 20 at 400. It's like mushy. But I've like cubed wise, I feel like I do the same as you. That makes sense.
yeah. Do you take the skin off?
Usually no. But do you?
I've been messing around with it a little bit. I
Really?
I
Do you think it
think
tastes better?
I mean, I'm biased right now because I think it is a little bit better. Just because
Okay.
like it cooks more evenly and
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
yeah, like getting it right with the skin, I just think is harder. Or maybe I'm just not a good enough cook to do it, but
No, I'm sure you are.
but I think yeah, it's easier to get it like cooked all the way through equally.
Gotcha. No, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
The big thing is just like you said, just like cut if you're gonna cut it up like equal
Yes.
sizes. That's the
Yes.
big thing. Because if
Yes.
you get a tiny one, then that one's just gonna be burnt.
I know. Yeah, that's like my current hyperfixation.
No, I'm big on I'll do that. I'll do quinoa and then I've been big on grilling
Oh, nice. Okay. What
as
do
of
you grill
late.
usually?
Yeah, my parents have one at the house,
Oh,
so
awesome.
if we're here, we might as well make use of it.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing. That's awesome.
that one's good because especially like I'm sure you can relate to this. Like I eat like the same
Yeah.
5, 6 meals on
Yeah,
rotation
me too.
all the time. And so like you want ways to like spice it up a little bit. And I
Definitely.
think with like especially with chicken and with any of the meats, if you grill it just very plain, it's still like got a little extra texture from the fire,
Yeah,
which is
totally.
really good because like I have like a thing in my mom's side of the family. I forget what it's called, hemochromatosis, I think it's called, where you just absorb iron like crazy.
Oh,
So
okay.
if I eat red meat all the time, my iron levels are going to shoot through the roof,
Oh, interesting.
and I get like super warm and I get super achy, like my hands will be on fire.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And part of it too is like the extra iron makes it easier sometimes for viruses to get in.
Really?
Is
Why
what
is
the
that?
apparently some of them bind to iron. Like they
Oh,
use the
wow.
iron to
I didn't
help
know
them.
that.
And
That's
I had
interesting.
a doctor explain this to me but so
Yeah.
like you just have to give blood obviously to get the levels down, but that's no
Gotcha.
fun because you're just out for like a day.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I eat tons of chicken, which
Gotcha.
I never get tired of red meat. I was
Yeah.
doing carnivore for a bit, eating like two
Same.
pounds of red meat a day, and I was loving
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Life was
I
great.
know. I feel like you have your eras. Like I did carnivore for like I think a few months and then I kind of like went out of it. And now I feel like I'm more balanced, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I I think carnivores, it's obviously really good, especially if you're like not sure what is getting to you and you're like, I just need to
Yeah.
reset and then build up. But
Uh-huh.
I couldn't do it for the rest of my life.
I think too, like short term, it's helpful gut wise to like help heal the gut and get rid of inflammation. But long term, like at least for me, it kind of created some like thyroid issues just because the lack
Mm.
of carbs, like my body was in like kind of stressed. So once I added carbs back in, I honestly like felt like I gained a little bit more energy back, if that makes
Did you
sense.
go to fruit first and then to like non-fruit carbs?
Uh, no, not really. I kind of honestly, I try to do like lower sugar because I also have like candida overgrowth, which is
Oh,
yeah, I have a lot of things, which is like basically like a yeast overgrowth,
yeah.
and it basically feeds on like sugar. So I try to like, or like I try to do like low glycemic fruits. So I'll do like
Mhm.
blueberries, like stewed apples sometimes, but I think I went to rice first, like carb wise, and then
Mhm.
sweet potatoes. But yeah, like now I eat mostly like animal based, I'd say. Candida is like a yeast that proliferates like from a lower immune system. So like someone that has like
Mhm.
Lyme or like a mold, often you see it often with mold toxicity. Um and basically it's interesting because a lot of times you can be like eating like healthy foods for you, but yeast, for instance, will feed on fermented food. So, like, I typically avoid fermented food, which for someone else, fermented food could be like super beneficial
Mhm.
gut-wise. So, it's so like bio-individual. It's like so crazy, honestly.
Can you take probiotics?
Yeah, I do take a probiotic. And I think that's been helping. But I think I still have it a bit. But yes, probiotics definitely helpful because it's just um I guess like kind of getting the yeast out, but at the same time like the yeast like I don't think your body is inherently like trying to like hurt you per se with the yeast. Like I think it's trying to like help fight against like the mold or something.
Right.
But um it's almost like a symptom of that where it's trying to do this protective mechanism, but it's like hurting because everyone has like the certain amount of candida, like you're supposed to have candida, but it's when it's like overgrows becomes an issue, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was reading a study that just came out yesterday, and they were showing that I think it was something like 25% of newborns that they tested had zero bifidobacterium in their guts whatsoever.
Really interesting. I've heard that like the way a mother gives birth also can affect the
Yeah.
gut microbiome
That
of a
was
child.
exactly what I was about to say. So
Really?
they
Yeah.
they
So
were like
interesting.
running down the things that they attributed to and like, having to take antibiotics early in their lives, but a big one was C-sections
Yep.
of,
Yeah.
having to do a C-section, you miss out on so much. Like it's something about the you end instead of pulling your microbiome largely from the areas that you're naturally supposed to pull it from, you end up
Yeah.
pulling a lot of it from the skin
Oh wow. Okay.
because that's how you're getting out.
Yeah.
And that would be obviously part of why that goes down. And then you have all of these other things that are going into it of, all the heavy metals that they could be exposed to,
Right.
where's the health of the mom at? Where's the health of the dad
Totally.
at? I feel like that's just starting to become a thing where people are like, we're gonna
Yeah,
have a baby, but we need to take like 4 or 5 months to get our health in order.
totally. Yeah, it's also really interesting too. Something I've learned is the oldest born usually gets the bulk of the mother's toxin load because like when a mother gives birth, that's like one of the biggest detoxes like ever, just because I guess just when you think about it mechanism wise, like you're detoxing, like getting the baby out. But like for instance, I'm the oldest born and like it's known that the oldest usually gets the highest like burden in terms of like BPA exposure, like heavy metal exposure, like that the mother may have. And I find it interesting because something that like I got super into in my family too is my grandma died of Alzheimer's, and a lot of like people theorize that Alzheimer's is almost like the inflammation of the brain, is almost like the diabetes of the brain. And like she
Yeah.
didn't really live a very healthy lifestyle, but she wasn't overweight. Like, but it was in like almost inflammation of her brain. It's interesting because there's also a theory that it's like an accumulation of like heavy metals, particularly like aluminum, that's like calcifying the brain almost. And
Mhm.
my mom was the oldest daughter, and then I'm the oldest daughter, and I've done like heavy metal tests, and I had high levels of aluminum. So I'm wondering like how
Mm.
much of that was passed down like maternally, like to my mom, then maybe to me, like inadvertently.
Was your
But
grandmother also the oldest? Do you know?
that's a great question.
I would wonder how far back this goes. How
Yeah.
many
So that's a
generations of
that's a
toxins?
really great question. I think she is. But yeah, it's very fascinating when you find out that stuff. And like I'm
Yeah.
sure that like my siblings may have gotten a load too, but I just know that like the oldest, it's definitely like
Yeah.
the most I think that you get.
I'm wondering now because my mom is the oldest and I'm
Okay.
the oldest
Yeah.
child as well.
Yeah.
And so I haven't done like I did lead and mercury, but I hadn't done the full panel yet. And that was something I
Yeah.
had on tap for end of January next year.
Gotcha.
And so now I'm very interested to see what it would be. I've been
Yeah.
reading this book about kind of life from late 1700s up to the early 1900s. And one of the big things they're talking about is a lot of people think it's like Great Gatsby and these Westerns, but for the most part, extremely dirty
Yeah.
and very poor hygiene, very
Mm.
poor medicine, where sometimes like the people who survived were not the poor people, but not the rich people either
Yeah.
because the poor people got no medicine and they just died.
Right.
And the rich people got like mercury poisoning from their medicine.
Mm. That's
And
so
so they also died.
interesting. Wait, that's crazy.
If you were right in that pocket of like wealthy enough
Yeah.
to get something, but not wealthy enough to get the nice things, then you
You're
did
good.
okay.
Oh, that's so
But
fascinating.
they were talking about just how much lead and arsenic and mercury was just in the world at the time.
Yes.
And, when I forget, it's like DDT or some of those early pesticides started to come in, I
Yeah.
guess one common practice at the time was just to spray it directly onto the food
Wow.
after it
That's
was
wild.
harvested. So they would harvest it, spray the food down, and
Yeah.
then sell it.
It's so wild. I feel like nowadays, though, almost comparatively, is glyphosate. Like
Yeah.
genuinely, like even like healthy brands that are promoted. Like I don't know if you've ever heard of like Bonza pasta before, which
Mm.
for a while that was a go-to for me because I was gluten free and it like seemed like it had clean ingredients and like adequate protein. And they like recently did tests on it and it was like one of the highest levels of glyphosate, genuinely of like any product. And you're like, you can't win. Like you think you're being healthy and it's so deceptive too because
Yeah.
like if you're not really 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 paying attention to all this stuff like an average person per se like honestly prior to me getting sick me like how would you know that and like glyphosate is so inflammatory and like I think we talked about this last time, but like alluding to like how everyone has like a glass that they can
Mm.
fill and then once your glass is overflowing. But for someone whose glass is like already pretty full, like myself, like glyphosate can be something, or you as well, like
Yeah.
can be something that like throws you over the edge. So
Yeah, I like ever since getting sick, it's hard to explain to people, but like
yeah,
it's not that I didn't like I think looking back, I kind of felt it before, but because
yeah,
your body's just in a much more robust place, you're able to power through it and you just don't
totally.
and it's also too like has there ever been a time in our lives, we're about the same age, that we've had food that's not had this stuff on it,
Right,
right? So
right.
if you
I
don't know
yeah,
any different, then how are you supposed to tell? Like that's just always how you
yeah,
felt when you've eaten the food, right?
totally.
I
I
I mean,
know.
I think back like I used to play 2 or 3 hockey games a day as a kid,
Yeah,
and I would
yeah.
pound like a McDonald's pancake breakfast and go out and I was
Mhm.
fine. If I
Yeah,
tried to do
me
that now,
too.
I'd end up in the emergency room.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. It really is. I know. I was similar. Like growing up, I literally ate horribly. Like it just didn't affect me, and like I
Yeah,
felt fine. I felt fine in my head, but like looking back now at the clarity I have in terms of like brain fog or like less like ADHD like symptoms, like
yeah,
I feel so different. But like at the time, that was normal for me and I felt fine. But until I was like almost pushed over the edge because of like the Lyme, the mold, etc., I didn't realize how I wasn't actually at like an optimal capacity. And I think
yeah,
for a lot of people, like people, I think genuinely people are operating at like 50% of their health without like even really realizing it until take away those inflammatory things. It's really hard to like articulate that. Like I
yeah.
think for me, something that moved the needle like really drastically, I realized was when I cut out gluten. Because when I stopped eating gluten, I was like, whoa, like I don't really have brain fog. I don't know. It's like wild. But yeah,
You
it's hard
don't
to,
know like until
you
you
don't know what you don't know, which
yeah.
is crazy to think
Yeah.
about. But
Like
yeah,
to try to explain to people, and I think this is too, like, it's such a slow burn. Like,
yeah,
so as long as I can remember, my dad was a professional golfer when I was a
okay,
kid, and then
yeah,
had to stop playing because he had back pain.
yeah,
And he's just had it for so long that
yeah,
it just becomes a part of your existence. Like, I don't
totally,
know if you have this at all, but probably like a year and a half into being sick, I started to find myself like having trouble remembering what it felt like before I got sick.
totally,
And, you try to constantly remind yourself, like, this isn't normal. This
yeah.
isn't how I'm supposed to feel. But you're
Mhm.
like, how was I supposed to feel? Like, it's become such a foreign concept to
I
me.
know.
And
It's tough too, because like
yeah,
I know I did this. Like I would like look back at pictures of when I felt like normal and good, just like reminiscing. I'm like a sentimental person, I guess. And I was like, damn, like I didn't know how good I had it. And like
yeah,
you took such like the little things for granted just because like and it's so hard to articulate too, because I mean, I know you said you struggled with like the fatigue issue, and that was like
mm,
my main thing was like I was just so tired all the time, and like I didn't like I wasn't aligning with my true self, because like personally I'm like an outgoing like person. I love to like hang out with people and connect with people, but
yeah,
I was isolating. I was like not wanting to do anything. I was tired all the time, and like inherently that made me like just disconnected from myself, only
yeah,
because I'm not doing the things that I feel like I like need to do to be happy. And then on top of that, you feel sick, and it's almost like ongoing thing. And I think it's like slowly but surely you got to get out of it like
yeah.
one by one. And it honestly made me like a super like spiritual person in terms of like everything
Mm.
happens for a reason. Like it's making you grow, because I feel like that's the only way to get out of that.
I 100% agree. I'm the same way. I'm a very like outgoing person. Like I need to talk to people every
Yeah.
single day. If I'm just
Yeah.
left to my own devices, like I'm good for like an hour, but after that, like I need to talk to somebody. I need to
Yeah,
just chit
fair.
chat. When you lose like all of your energy, it's number one, it's hard to explain to people because they just think you're tired and you're like, no,
Yeah.
it's not like I've been tired before. I've played a hockey game and then been on the
Yeah.
bus ride home and not
Mhm.
slept well and then had to get up for class and then
Yeah.
blah 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 do that whole thing. And like that's tired where I'm like, I can power through it. I take a coffee, I'm okay. This is like I just have nothing. Like my body is not producing anything that I can do anything with. It's not that I don't want to go out, it's that I can't. And
Yeah.
it sucks you mentally and physically dry. And I think in
Totally.
those moments, like especially with stuff that's chronic, you start to think about like, okay, like I might not be getting better. Kind of
Yeah.
that first initial wave of like, this isn't like an illness like I've had in the past where a couple weeks it's gone, six
Right.
months, my broken bone is healed, right?
Hmm.
Like I've had a concussion before and that was like a month, but I got better. This
Gotcha.
was like, maybe this is just my life. And when you
Yeah.
have that first realization of like, maybe it's not getting better, you kind of go to like, maybe it's just going to keep getting worse.
It
And
is. It's
then
hard.
you
It's
kind of,
almost
yeah,
like the five stages of grief. Like
exactly.
you notice it and you're like, okay. And
I think
then
you have to be spiritual. I
you
think it
do.
has to be a thing of,
Hmm.
you think about life and all these things. And if I think about like the turning points for me, they are, I think, at their root, deeply spiritual moments.
Yeah,
Where
no, totally. I don't know if you've ever heard of like Joe Dispenza before.
no,
Um, he's kind of spiritual, but he is like a teacher, and he teaches mindfulness basically and the power of your own mind, and almost like the placebo effect,
mm,
in terms of like how you can change your reality like almost through your thoughts. And
mm,
I think he had like a super bad back injury himself, and every single day he like would take 30 minutes in the morning and visualize himself being better and feeling better.
mm,
And eventually he like transcended that, and
mm,
he now like leads retreats where people just have these like intense like spiritual comings and are like healing themselves of like unhealable things, which is
mm.
pretty insane. It's really insane, like the power of your mind. And like I know placebo effect, some people might think that's a little woo-woo per se, but I think like what you think and believe is what your reality is going to be sometimes. And like it's taken me a while to get to that point, but you
Yeah.
gotta like, I don't know. It's hard to articulate, but I
The,
feel like it
I would say
comes
to
with,
anybody who says the placebo effect is woo-woo, it is the most studied effect. It's the most studied thing in all of medicine because
yeah,
everything is tested against placebo. It is so
totally.
powerful that
Hmm.
we have to like rule out that it's not placebo.
Yeah,
That's how
definitely.
like I know you listen to Huberman Lab, but he's talked about it so many
Yeah.
times of like if you gave someone a milkshake and
Yeah.
you tell them that it's like this, healthy thing versus if you tell them it's this treat, their body reacts differently
Totally.
at a
Totally.
biological level.
Yeah.
It's so important. Do you like looking back, like can you think of like those moments where you kind of were able to make that mental shift?
Yeah, I mean, I like remember in like the beginning, honestly, like I think I was doing more harm than good to myself, where when my body was reacting to like so many different foods and like I didn't know what was making me feel better, what was making it worse, like my skin was breaking out, like I think me being so reactive to all these things almost made it worse. Like,
Mm,
yes, there was Lyme and mold in my system. Yes, like I was definitely ill, but I think like your nervous system and the power of your mind and your body, like also has a big factor in that.
mm,
So I think I was almost like self-sabotaging myself in a way, which is tough to like hear. And like when I heard that, I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. But I almost had to like take responsibility in the point like a part of me I can change and I can only control what I can control. And I feel like when I finally took responsibility and like autonomy for that, like the needle started to move a bit. And obviously, like in terms of like Lyme and mold, that it's very complicated and like just having a positive mindset isn't enough. Sometimes
mm.
like that's not going to just like make you better. But I think for me in particular, I lived in a state of like very fight or flight in terms of
Yeah.
like my nervous system, especially coming from I played sport in college, so like it was very intense, very all the time, like go, 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 go. And when I
Mhm.
finally took time to like reconnect with myself, and now I do yoga, and I feel like that's helped a ton, just like with nervous system regulation and stuff, is when I started to like really see the needle move. And I think also just in terms of my lifestyle, the way I lived, like just socially, a lot of the times I was like a yes person. I would say yes to everything, like wanting to like please everyone. But now I'm like extremely selfish with my time and like what
Mm.
I do, and not in like a bad way, but in a way where like if I'm tired, I'm not going. Like, sorry, I don't care
Yeah.
whose feelings I hurt. Like my number one priority is myself, and like some people might not like that, but I've like learned that I don't care anymore, you know? Like where in the past I would be like, "Oh, I don't want to like make them feel bad," but like again, like from illness, like that's what you figure out. You figure out like I like yes, the illness is here and it's not my fault that I have this, but there's other underlying things that I am contributing to it and how can I change those to change my life, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it really helps you prioritize where it's, if I only
Yeah.
have energy for one or two things on a weekend,
Yeah.
you're like, what are those one or two things that really matter most? Because like I can't show up to everything,
Totally.
but I'm gonna make sure that I can show up in my best form possible to the
Yeah.
like weddings, all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
like the stuff that really matters. And
Right.
that's where you do that stock of like, all right, who are my real friends? Like who are the things that really mattered to me?
Totally.
And what I found is, my best friends were like, what can you do? Like what like I can go for
Yeah.
I'm really tired today, but if you want to just come over and hang out and sit down and chat, I could do
Mhm.
that. And like, yeah, we'll do it.
That's
Versus the other
important.
ones who are like, you can't do this or that. You're like, all right.
Honestly, like from going through this, people came in and out of my life, and some people understood what I was going through, and some people that even the closest people like didn't, and I lost them. And it was hard at first because you're like, wow, I wish I would just be better, but I think it all happens for a reason. Like the people
Mhm.
that are meant to stay will stay, and the people that aren't are gonna go.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, like I'm not saying I'm out of it now, but I feel a lot better now. It's like I look back and I'm like, all right, all of this happened for a reason. But
Yeah.
in the moment, it's so tough. That's why I feel like you almost have to go spiritual with it because it like gives you a purpose almost of like, okay, this is why I'm going through what I'm going through. And like even for you, like starting this podcast or for me, I like to like post what I've learned online. It like gives me almost like a purpose and like I feel like I'm helping people. And I would have never had that if this didn't happen to me. I don't know if you would have started this if it didn't happen to you, but it almost is like, wow, okay, so this did happen for a reason and like I can like use this for good, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I know I wouldn't be anywhere near where I'm at today without
Yeah.
this stuff. Like when I first got sick, my plan was I was going to UVA. I was starting my master's program there in exercise science. I was
Yeah.
gonna get that, and then I was gonna join the Navy. And I had like taken the ASVAB and everything, and I was getting ready to go and all
Yeah.
that good stuff. And I just kind of got to the point where I'm like, I can't even walk to class. You
Yeah.
know, UVA doesn't have the best parking in the world.
You're
So
telling me.
I was like, I'm walking like a mile just to get to these buildings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, I was just like I had a whole other plan for myself. And I remember like having to call my mom and be like, I gotta come home. Like I just gotta focus on
Yeah.
getting better right now. I literally had no other plans beyond that. It brought me home and I ended up doing a bunch of things begrudgingly that led to, you know, me doing the podcast, starting my own company and, you know, getting to do all these other cool things now where it's like all of the things that I wanted in my life for myself. I just had this vision in my head of like, this is what it's going to be. And the moment I was able to let go of that and just let life happen to me naturally, I was like,
Yeah.
I got all those things. They just don't look how I thought they were going to look. And that's
Right.
where to me it is like spiritual. Like maybe I needed to get sick. Maybe I
Mhm.
needed to cleanse, you know, my social system of getting these friends out who don't genuinely care about me and getting myself prioritized and, you know, learning through this experience how tough and strong I really am
Mhm.
and getting all of these resources that I need to be successful in life.
Totally. I think for me too, like I've noticed, like I look back like 5 years, I'm like, I was a different person, like, and not the type of person I want to be. Like, I feel like right now I'm like living as my highest self, and like
Yeah.
I feel like so aligned with like what I'm supposed to be doing, and like, do I know what the future holds? No, but I'm in a place more where I'm more trusting of like whatever's happening is happening for me, and like I would have never come to this, like especially like I feel like at this age, if this didn't happen to me. So there is something like to be said, like there is a spiritual like underlying to it, which is again, some people might think it's a little woo, but like I that's genuinely like what I feel like what got me through. So I have to like say it with
You have to be honest about your
pride.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Who was
totally.
that first person that came to you and sort of put this on your radar of like, you know, maybe this is, you know, you're not thinking about this right?
Well, when this first all happened, like I superficially, it was more, I was tired, but it was more like my skin started breaking out and it was like, what's going on? So I tried to like figure out like, how can I heal this naturally? But then
Mm,
I started to get more and more tired and then it just kind of spiraled and I would listen to all these podcasts like Huberman, like Dr. Will Cole,
yeah.
like Joe Dispenza. Like I would try to like listen to figure out like, okay, like maybe I could change this food or I could change this, but I think a lot of it came down to just like habits and like the way my nervous system was like wired in such fight or flight. And like when you're in fight or flight, you are basically diverting all of your energy away from like digestion,
Yeah.
from I guess like your internal organs, and you're pushing it all outwards because it's almost like, let's say you're getting chased after like a bear, like your body is gonna go, like heart rate's gonna increase, your eyes are gonna widen, like you're going all in, you're in a stress state, but in that stress state, it's hard to digest things, like it's easier to get sick. But if you're in this chronic fight or flight state, and some people can inadvertently be like in it from being exposed to mold, that can put you in a chronic fight or flight state, like not even like from your habits per se. I think like getting out of that has helped me be able to fix some like digestion issues or
Mm,
like help with, I don't know, just general like nutrition, like in nutrient absorption. It's just tricky because with Lyme and mold, it does mess up your immune system so much and it's so
mm,
complex. And I feel like no one has the answers. Like I definitely don't. Like and every case is so individualized, but
yeah.
I think for me, something that helped the most was trying to regulate my nervous system. And something that I do like a lot that really helps me now is I try to meditate like 10 minutes a day.
Mm,
I try not to look at my phone for like an hour in the morning. which I don't always do.
That was I would say
I
like
try.
I think sometimes it's easier to get up like 'cause now it's winter
Yeah.
and walk
Yeah.
out into the freezing cold to look at the sun than to not be on my phone for an hour.
Yeah. No, it's hard. I try to I change my phone to like red light mode at night so
Yeah.
I'm not getting blue light in my eyes. Yoga especially, I feel like anytime I'm in a bad mood, I'm like, I need to go to yoga. Like, don't talk to me until I do my yoga because it just resets my nervous system. Like I feel the shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are just some ways that like I just like feel like have like moved the needle for me.
You're a yoga instructor now, right?
I am, yes.
That's awesome. So I
Thank
wanted
you.
to ask you about this
Yeah.
because you had mentioned yoga to me on the last podcast, just like very
Yeah.
quickly. And I had been in a pickle where I was in a place where I couldn't really work out. Like I couldn't lift
Mhm.
weights because they were too taxing on my nervous system
Totally.
and I couldn't get
Yeah.
it to come back down.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to find something and, in the same way that, getting out and talking to people, like
Yeah.
working out is such like part of my identity that losing that was
Totally.
horrifying for my mental health. And
Yeah.
so I
I get
started
it.
doing some yoga
Mhm.
and I probably did it a couple times a week, 2, 3 times a week.
That's great.
And the difference that it made, number one, I'll be the first to admit I was a little like yoga elitist of like it's not really that hard and like I lift
Mhm.
weights, I'm strong, like
Yeah.
shaking
It's
so
hard.
hard.
I will say too, like yoga, there's different types. So you can do like a hot power flow, and that's like a hot room, and it is hard. Like you have to be strong to do it. There's yin yoga, which is like a little slower, but I go to a studio right now where there's restorative yoga, where
Mhm.
genuinely all you're doing for like an hour is just like laying like hugging blocks and like you'll hold poses for 10 minutes and people fall asleep. Like I've snored before.
Oh, that's what I
But
need.
it's so restorative to your nervous system and like especially like I know you're a guy, but as a girl, like I try to do it in accordance with like my cycle, like in terms of like
Mhm.
when I'm like nearing my like getting my period, I try to like slow down and not push
Mhm.
myself because especially like playing soccer in college, like I had no semblance of that. I would push myself through everything when I didn't want
Mhm.
to. And like one thing I live by now is like when I'm tired, I will not push myself through anything. Like even on my walk, I went on a walk this morning with my mom and
Mhm.
she was like walking too fast. I'm like, sorry, you can walk ahead. Like I'm not walking that fast. She's like, come on. I'm like, no. I think it's hard, especially for people that played sports to like then getting an illness to then realizing like, okay, like I don't have to push my body to an extreme to say I did a workout. Like
Yeah.
going for a walk is a sufficient workout. And honestly, like I'm trying to get more into lifting weights again. I feel like I've taken a hiatus and I definitely think it's amazing for you and like build strength and like is so good for nervous system regulation and all the above. But I particularly enjoy doing yoga as not even as much of an exercise, but it's more of like for my mental health rather than my physical health. And like
Mhm.
inherently it has physical like attributes that help. Especially like the hot one, it's definitely really hard, but I do it particularly like for my mental health.
So how do you, as you're sort of managing like the four phases of a cycle,
Yeah.
and, for people who don't know, there's like luteal phase, there's follicular
Yeah.
phase, there's four different phases, and
Mhm.
they're going to come with their own unique needs because your hormones are just going to be in a different place, your body's going to be doing different things.
Totally.
And then you're also trying to manage all of the natural, side effects, let's call it, of these changes
Yeah.
with I also have these other things that are causing side effects. How do
Right.
you go about sort of being in tune with your body, differentiating what is what, and then sort of coming up with that prescription of, I have yoga, I have meditation, I have all these different
Mhm.
things. What is the thing for me to do? Is that just trial and error? Is that
Yeah.
learning?
I honestly think I've been doing this now, like I've been really trying to figure all this out for 3 years and I still don't have it all like figured out. And like I still struggle with my health. Like I'm not like nothing's perfect.
Mhm.
But I kind of just take everything day by day and I think I've gotten a lot better with listening to my body and actually like feeling like what's good for me and what's not. I track my cycle, so I try to live in accordance with that. For a while when I played a sport in college, like where you're just go go go, like I lost my cycle for a while, which
Mm.
is just due to like overwhelm of stress. Like when your body feels like it's under too much stress, like it's going to take away that like potential like you're reproducing is
Yeah.
not like the like something it's going to like want to do because it's going to divert all your energy to like keeping you
Right.
alive.
It happens
Um
to so many female athletes,
it
especially
does.
Division
It
One.
does. And like people think it's normal and it's not normal and it's way too normalized, which like I think is crazy. And I think also too, like people don't realize like women are just not like little men. Like a man's cycle per se is
Yeah.
24 hours. So they'll have the highest amount of energy in the morning and then like slowly tapers down throughout the day. And
Hmm.
that's kind of what like a 9 to 5 is like tailored towards, not to like get all into that. Like, but a woman's cycle, like
Yeah.
she can like for like let's say her morning that of a guy could be week 1, but it's 28 days rather than like 24 hours. It's just very different. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize that either. But in terms of what I do or I try to do is within like the first like I guess your first phase, which is like the follicular phase,
Hmm.
that's when you have a lot of energy, you're feeling good. You just finished menstruating and like I particularly like to do like more higher workouts and estrogen's rising, so I know a lot of people will try to eat like cruciferous vegetables to just help bind to that excess estrogen because estrogen dominance can cause a lot of issues.
Hmm.
um and then ovulation is like when you feel your best, you're probably your most social, like you just feel great. That's when you could probably do like your highest most intense workouts. At least that's what I try to do. And
Yeah.
then your luteal phase is kind of when it um you are kind of going more inward and like tapering down slowly. This is when progesterone, the hormone, should be rising. However,
Hmm.
if you're chronically stressed, progesterone can get like taken over by cortisol. Cortisol and progesterone compete for that same pathway. So if you're chronically stressed, you're not gonna get that adequate progesterone, thus like impacting potential like menstruation. And
Hmm.
that's why I think like why a lot of people lose it. And then during menstruation, I try to just rest and listen to my body as much as possible. And like, it is so different for everyone. Like, for someone like me that has dealt with a lot of illness, like, really being in tune with that, I think has been like super helpful. But
Hmm.
for someone with more resilience, that might look different. Like, they might just do like a similar workout, but less impact. I'm not sure. Like, it really depends on the person. I've just noticed for me that definitely has helped.
So one of the I remember one of the things when I got sick was like we got sick kind of during those prime building your career years. And,
Yeah,
obviously it worked out, like was able to start a company, but
that's
for a
great.
while I was like, how am I going to get a job? Like I have no energy, right?
Yeah.
And, listening to you talk, like I never thought about that of how like the workday really does line up with a guy's cycle and
Yeah, it's
how it
crazy.
doesn't line up at all with how, females experience their hormones.
Yeah.
For you're working in 9 to 5 now, correct?
Yeah, I am.
How do you make those adjustments? I never even thought about this before.
Yeah. Honestly, like I started my full-time job in September and the first 3 months were very challenging for me because like one thing I've always said since being sick is I will never sacrifice anything for my health, but at the
Mhm.
same time I want to have a successful career and like I'm like ambitious in that sense and like I enjoy working, like I enjoy like contributing. But at like a point I felt like my health was being sacrificed. My first
Mhm.
3 months of my job was like basically like a test. I had to just like really like retain all the information and just like it was just a lot of like constant like studying per se. And it was really tough because I was almost having this like inherent battle with myself, like, okay, yes, this is like you have this job, but at the same time, like I made this promise to myself, like to not sacrifice. And honestly, like from like September to like beginning of December, like health wise, I did not feel like my best, which was really like upsetting to me because I worked really hard to get into a good place. But like my little like testing period is over now, which is nice. So I've been able to like get to a semblance of a routine. And I think to like set myself up for success, I like to try to meal prep at the beginning of the week just to
Mm.
have like good meals that I know will make me feel good, that like my body agrees with. I think another thing I like to do is just like have a routine. So whether that be trying to like work out in the morning, walk in the morning, or after, like move my body in some way. I think if you're sitting at a desk all day, like make it a conscious effort to get up and walk like
Mm.
every hour or so, I'd
Yours
say.
is a desk job primarily.
Um, my job's a little interesting. So I'm going through a rotation program right now,
Okay.
um, for like a medical device company, and
Oh, med sales?
it no, it's really niche. So
Okay.
the first rotation I did was learning all the devices. That's why it was like so like test oriented, and I was
Jeez,
traveling a
yeah.
lot. Like I was traveling every other week to like shadow people, which was hard because I'm very particular about like what I eat and stuff, and that was
Yeah.
kind of out the window. But for instance, this next rotation I'm at right now, it's like the strategy side of it, which is some desk, but some in person. So it like is varying, which is
Mhm.
also tough for me because I love routine.
Yeah.
But it's nice to like see different assets of like the organization, and then at the end of it, I kind of get to decide what like facet I think I would be most interested in. I think
Oh, okay.
lifestyle wise, like the division I'm in right now, it's product like management. I'm enjoying just because I'm able to have my like core routine before and after work and like know what that schedule is gonna look like.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's definitely like difficult because in an ideal world, I would have a 3 hour routine in the morning and do like 10 million things, but you can't always do that. I make it a priority like on the weekend to really like find time to like designate to self-care just because I feel like it just really makes me feel better mentally
Yeah.
too. And honestly, like just by sharing online and like doing yoga and like even having these conversations, like I like feel so fulfilled inside through that like it's almost like even if my 9 to 5 job isn't hitting every single box, like if I can find something, I think if anyone can find something they're so passionate in and
Mm.
like can live by that, like it almost gives you a sense of purpose.
Absolutely. I my job is not something that I ever thought I'd get into.
Yeah,
I built a software system for college athletics departments, and it's
that's awesome.
super boring and it's not exciting at all. And if it was something that like I saw in a job listing, like, do you want to do this? I'd be like, no, I don't want to do this. But
Yeah,
like so much of it is just because of like the priority shifts that I've had since getting sick of like
yeah,
I want X, Y, and Z. I want to have I want to be able to have that 3 hour routine. And I
yeah,
want to be able to do it at my house where I can, buy myself a infrared
right.
sauna and a dry sauna, cold
Yeah,
plunge and a nice hyperbaric chamber. And like these things aren't cheap. And
right.
so you make that sacrifice of whatever time or
Yeah,
maybe I can't do a couple things on the weekend with some people because I need to prioritize my health because I need to be ready for the next week of work.
right.
But it is that thing like you said of like the bigger picture, the things that do fulfill you, knowing that you're working towards that and trusting that process in a similar way
Yeah,
to you know it sucks trying to recover from getting sick, but you keep that thing in the distance of like I'm working towards this and you
totally.
find purpose in that and it
Yeah.
becomes so much more fulfilling.
It does. Yeah, and I also like volunteer for a nonprofit, a Lyme organization. It's called Global Lyme Alliance.
Oh,
And
cool.
in September they did this event in accordance with also other nonprofits called Project Lyme. And it was
Mhm.
like this fashion show where we brought together like a lot of people and raised a lot of money for the cause, which was awesome. And like unfortunately, because of work, I couldn't go to New York for it because I'm based out of Boston. But two of my best friends went because they bought tickets to it and like showed me the footage, which was cool to see. But even
Nice.
just working on things like that, I think just gives you a purpose, and like you feel like you're making an impact based on personal experience. And there's like no money in the world that can like buy like a feeling like that, like
Yeah.
it's when you find something that I think everyone in life needs to find like a passion where you can just get lost in like a flow state. Like for instance, for me, I feel like that's yoga.
Mhm.
But I think sick or not, like anyone, if they can find something like that, it'll just be for the better.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to ask you is obviously the HHS has just did the panel on
Yeah.
Lyme. They did one back in September on long COVID. They're really starting to study a lot of these things
Yeah.
and try to find these treatments and specifically, targeting existing things that could potentially be very helpful and
Yeah.
going to the doctors and the patients that have been trying to self-treat these things for so long.
Right.
How do you sort of see yourself in all of that? Like obviously you're getting to volunteer, but do you do you feel like, kind of in a position of like I want my illness to almost be hopefully something that I go through so that other kids in future generations don't have to go through it.
Yeah. I think like my ultimate goal, like in life, like further, I mean, I'm only 23, so I'm still young and like just started my career, but I would love one day to like spearhead some type of nonprofit for Lyme and try to use my story to make a difference or somehow turn my platform into some type of wellness brand that can like touch different facets because I am like, again, I don't know how I'm gonna I exactly yet, but this is something I literally talk about, like all of my close friends and family know I literally talk about this every day because I'm like, how can I take what I've been through and turn it into something meaningful and
Yeah.
like worthwhile to help other people. So in any way I can, like I really want to. I'm still figuring that out. I think just in terms of finding like-minded people and talking with them and just keeping the conversation going and just finding ways that light you up inside that make you feel like you're making an impact is like the first way to go. And I think like finding things when you do get like lit up inside, like keep following those passions and like
Mm.
doing things that do that. I think for a while, like before I got sick, I was super like not reserved, but like I wouldn't go after the things I wanted as
Mm.
much as I will now. Like I think it like changed my personality in like a very good way. Like that's where I mean like you
Mm.
kind of have to like take it with a grain of salt, like, okay, I got
Mm.
sick, but it made me like a different person in like a good way.
Even as a Division 1 athlete?
What do you mean?
Like you said, like you have like these goals and not necessarily going after them.
Yeah, I think not in terms of like sports or like going after. It was more of just like I maybe like limiting self-beliefs in terms of like
Hmm.
not speaking up or like not having, I don't know, this internal confidence. But I feel like since like going through this, it like gave me this like new self foundation.
Interesting.
Which yeah, that's where it gets like a little woo-woo where I'm like, okay, it's like changed me for the better. And I'm
Yeah,
like
well, that's
honestly
so
grateful
interesting
for
because
it.
you would think like you were in the top what 1% of 1% of 1% of all girls who play soccer, got to some of the highest levels and like UVA
Mhm.
isn't like a low Division 1 program. That's a
Yeah.
nationally ranked
Yeah.
program. It's an elite program. And
Yeah.
I mean, when I was there, that would have been 2020 like two probably. Fall
Yeah.
2022 was like when I was there and watching games. Like
Yeah.
you guys were like top five, I think, or something, at
Yeah.
least by the end of the year. So like
Yeah, we were good
you
that
were
year.
by any stretch of the imagination one of the best female soccer players, in the
Yeah,
country. And you would to say like you didn't have this like confidence to speak up and do all these things
yeah.
is so fascinating because I think it'd be the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times like I especially growing up like was very good at soccer, so I like had like my identity was tied to that.
Hmm.
And particularly at UVA, like I never really started. I wasn't the star of the team in any regard, and like it almost like forced me to realize like okay, like I have other worthy qualities. I'm not just a soccer player.
Mm.
And I think through that like then getting sick, I realized, okay, like what else sparks my like passion and joys? And like honestly, like again, getting sick, it sucks that it took that, but like I think for me, like sharing things I like learn and especially teaching yoga, like things like that, like really like light me up inside. And I'm still just trying to follow that. Still trying to figure out. I mean, I feel like everyone's in that boat. Like everyone's trying to figure out what to do. And like I think just finding people and surrounding yourself with people that light you up is the way to go.
So as we're looking forward to the new year, right?
Yeah.
And getting all the New Year's resolutions together, looking back on the past
Yeah.
year, this kind of entrepreneurial spirit that you have around everything, right? And all these
Yeah.
different directions, like you said, you could go of like, what are your sort of your big goals for this new year for
Yeah,
yourself?
that's a great question. I think in terms of I have a few categories I feel like that
Okay.
I'm trying to like elevate in. For instance, yoga, like I'd love to start teaching like consistently. I'm starting in January. I'm teaching puppy yoga, which I'm really excited about.
With puppies?
Yeah, so like I'll teach like for 40 minutes and then they like bring in a specific breed of dog. And people like play dogs. So that's exciting. I think I'm just trying to because I traveled a lot in the fall, so I wasn't really able to like establish myself anywhere in terms of like teaching. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna try to put myself out there more. In terms of my health, I think I've gotten a lot better this past year. I used to be like very rigid with it and like
Mhm.
hard on myself. I think I've gotten better at doing more of an 80-20 mentality and realizing like if I don't feel well one day, like that's okay. Like and like it's not my fault and it could be on to the next. So I think like a goal could be just to like keep that mindset and stay consistent with the things I can control, whether that be like nervous system regulation or just like being particular about like what I eat without stressing too much. In terms of like the Lyme, not like I like the nonprofit, I'm gonna continue to still like work with them. I want to try to do something potentially. I'm from Boston, live in Boston, so maybe something in Boston, an event. Yeah, I'm honestly just really trying to again make an impact. I think I'm
Mm.
gonna keep like posting my content, like hoping that like it resonates with someone, and even if it just helps one person with one thing, that's great. And I'm by no means an expert. This is just all based on my experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just gonna speak my truth, I guess.
Well, I can say for myself that I definitely really enjoy the content, and especially like I know I've like the airport stuff specifically, like that's exactly how it is with me.
Yeah,
I sent that to a friend of mine and he
really.
sent back he goes, "You found the only other person who's as inconvenient to travel with as you are." And I was like, yeah.
I mean, you got free will. You can
That's
do
what
it.
I'm saying. And,
Yeah.
like to the point where I ended up, my parents and my family all flew out to we go on spring vacation every single year to our house
Yeah.
down in Hilton Head. And
Nice.
I ended up flying separately just because like,
That's
I'm like,
okay.
I'm not going to go, I'm going to get the pat down.
Yeah,
It's going to be a little bit longer for me, but this is free will. This is how I want to live. I
free
don't want
will.
to do all this unnecessary stuff that
Totally.
I'm not going to eat any of this airport food. I'm
Right.
gonna bring my snacks. I'm gonna look weird, but I don't care.
I
I'm
think that's
over
been
it
a
at this
big thing
point.
for me too. For a while, I like cared so much what everyone thought of me. Like,
Yeah,
I don't want to look like the weirdo, the crunchy, whatever. I don't care anymore. I
I
literally
don't care.
don't care. Like, I've reached a point where I'm like, I know what makes me feel good, and if you don't like it, like, I don't care.
Yeah,
And I think it like takes, that's what I mean, like personality shift wise, like I think that's a huge factor that has shifted for me because I've almost like lost that part of my like ego where it was like, oh no, like conform, but I don't care anymore.
yeah, I'm over it. Like
Yeah,
it's I
exactly. Like
it feel if I'm not gonna like do it just and then feel awful. Like
exactly.
ruin my
It's not
vacation.
worth it.
It's
It's
not
not worth
worth
it.
it at
And
all.
I mean, I'm sure you can resonate with this, but I don't know if like everyone understands like when your Lyme flares, like it can literally last for like weeks just by one little thing. And like
Yeah.
that's why I particularly was so like strict with it because it wasn't worth it to me to feel like not sorry, I don't know, can I curse like shit
Go.
for like for like 2 weeks because I did one little thing, you know? And that's where you have to get selfish because it's your life, it's your body. You can't
Yeah.
change what you have. You have to live with it and it's either you accept it or you don't.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like okay with like not conforming anymore per
Yeah.
se or like being more selfish now.
Yeah, it's like I remember when I like we go out to restaurants and stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
all that's always a problem.
Yeah.
And
No,
the,
I can relate. I think for me, that's where now I don't know about you, but I'm in a little bit of a better place where like if I go out to a restaurant, like that's like my 20 out of like the 80/20 where I'm like, okay, this is probably cooked in
Hmm.
seed oils, but I'm gonna be okay. I'll be all right. But if I have any control over it, like for instance, I was staying in a hotel like a few weeks ago and they had like an omelet station and I brought my own avocado oil and I said, "Can you use this instead?" And everyone was like, "What? I don't care." Like
I did the
and they
same
made
thing.
it for me in that.
I brought some beef tallow with
That's
me.
great. That's awesome.
I found a smokehouse near where I live. They're not obviously using any seed oils whatsoever, and they're
That's
smoking it.
awesome. Yeah.
Life changing. I
Wow.
go there all the time because like I
That's
don't have
great.
it doesn't affect me. Like I'm just getting
Yeah.
meat. It's good, and I just say like, hey, don't throw the dry rub on it, and we're good. But for a long time, like my
Yeah.
dad would be like, hey, do we want to go here? We're going to go to places that we used to eat all the time, like family trips and stuff like that. And me and being like, I'm looking at their menu and I'm not seeing anything. And number one, I eat a lot of protein. Like
Me too.
I eat a lot of protein. And so
Yeah.
I ended up like we just went someplace the other night that's primarily a pizza place. And I
Yeah.
just went up to the waitress. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna get a chicken sandwich. I don't want any sandwich. Give me
Just chicken.
roughly 8 to 12 ounces of chicken. You can keep the pickles on here, and I'll
Yeah.
worry about the carbs when I get home.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I think for a while, for me, it like mitigated social interactions for me. And like what I kind of talked about earlier is like I'm an inherently like social person. So I think that was like putting my like health in detriment because your health isn't just physical, it is mental and social too. And like
Yeah.
if you're isolating, that's gonna affect you. So now like if I feel like I can't eat something or like I don't really drink too much anymore. Like I will still
Hmm.
go and just not indulge in that. And I think it's honestly given me more confidence in myself because I will now be okay. I'm okay knowing like I can do this. I don't need XYZ to like be with these people. And if I do, they're not my real friends. And like
Yeah.
I think it's a powerful lesson to learn.
Absolutely. Your real
But I
friends are the ones who make you a sweet potato cake.
exactly, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, and
They
the thing
know.
is too, like I've especially going to weddings and stuff, and like those sort of things. Like obviously, like champagne and alcohol is a big part of
Yeah,
it. But my thing is like I haven't had a sip of alcohol probably now in like 6, 7 years, right? And I have no interest in.
yeah.
But somebody needs to drive.
Yeah, exactly. There
You
you
know,
go.
you
Role
find you
unlocked.
got to find the good in it.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I will from like casually from time to time, I will drink and I almost always regret it, I will say. Like the next morning I'm like, there's no reason I need to do this. And like I'll do it like solely for like the social benefit of my
Yeah.
health. That's the way I like to frame it. But I will say for anyone listening that something I've been doing when I do drink, it is pretty rare, but when I do, there's this prebiotic that you can take prior. It's called Z-biotic. And
Oh, okay.
it breaks down the acetaldehyde produced by alcohol. So it
Hmm.
mitigates like that toxic burden in your body. So the hangovers and like how you feel is a lot less mentally. I think it helped me a lot. But again, like I genuinely probably drink like once every like 2 or 3 months. So like it's not like I'm like doing it quite often, but it is helpful if you ever indulge.
Z-Biotic, who makes it?
I don't know actually. They sell them online.
Okay.
And yeah, and like I thought the first time I tried it, I was like, there's no way it's gonna work, but it
I
did.
think that's so many supplements. Like when I got into it, of like, all right,
Yeah,
what am I gonna take? Like there were some pretty outrageous claims, and I was like,
I know.
there's no way it's gonna do this. But there's some like,
Some.
so I had one big issue I had was like exercise intolerance. This was like the
Yeah,
big thing that got me out of UVA because I
yeah,
went to I whatever the health building is there to see the one of the doctors because I was trying to explain I'm like I'm in an exercise major and I can't
yeah.
exercise and it's a
Oh my
problem.
God.
So I
Yeah.
would go and do like a lunge and my thigh would burn like I'd done 1,000. And then I would sit there and like it didn't go away. And I like they would do tests and like it looks fine. You don't have rhabdo, you don't have any of these things. And I was like, well, what's going on? And I found this random study that the Navy had done on COVID boosters where they gave them these mushrooms with the booster shots.
Really?
and the incidence of side effects dropped like 90%.
Wow.
And their antibody levels stabilized that much more because like sometimes, if you get a shot, the issue is like a hyper response or a hypo response, right?
Right.
And it helped like mitigate those specific side effects, right?
Wow.
It feels kind of wacky, but okay. So I went on the
Yeah.
internet and did a lot of double checking because I was like, mushrooms,
Yeah.
you never know what you're gonna get.
You
So
never know.
I
Yeah.
found some and I took them the
What
next
type of
day,
what type of mushroom was it?
problems went away. So it was a mushroom called agarikon and
Okay.
turkey tail.
I've heard of turkey tail.
Turkey tail I'd heard of.
Yeah.
Agarikon I'd never heard of.
Interesting.
And
Wow.
I took them together. It was like 500 milligrams each, once a day. And the next day, I was able to like start doing workouts
Wow.
again. It literally
Crazy.
fixed it overnight.
Like, that is
And
what's so crazy is like sometimes that's all it takes is just like finding that one thing that moves the needle. And for
yeah,
everyone that's different, which I think is so insane.
the frustrating part is you might have to try 10 things and
Yep.
nine of them aren't going to work, but that 10th one does. And you
Yeah.
can kind of move on to the next thing.
I
And
agree.
I really
Something
think it
that
comes down to gut, like what we started talking about at the beginning
totally.
is like the mushrooms modulate the immune system by giving prebiotic fiber to your gut.
Yeah.
And all of my issue, like I used to eat tubs
Yeah.
of ice cream, had
Yeah.
antibiotics in high school, couldn't do milk anymore whatsoever,
Right.
right? And then got COVID, was recovering like slowly but normally, had
Yeah.
antibiotics, and then fell off the face of the earth. Like it's
Yeah.
been disruptions to my gut that has screwed me every single time. Healing the gut has done more for my health journey than any one thing outside of, finding a spiritual practice and doing
Yeah.
hyperbaric oxygen. Do
Oh,
you have
sorry.
have you seen not the carnivore Brian Johnson, but the vegan Brian Johnson?
I have,
So
yes. He's interesting.
he's a fun guy. He looks like a fun time.
Yeah.
He makes me feel better about myself because I'm like, he's like the extreme end of
Yeah. I think his mission, it's a really good mission in terms of
absolutely.
like he's really trying to betterment of the health of everyone, but
Yeah.
in terms of practicality for the average American, like he takes over 100 supplements a day. Like, yes,
Yeah.
one thing might move the needle for him, but he's also doing XYZ where I don't know if this works for him, that might be helpful, but like he's also doing like 900 other things that might not be feasible for everyone else, where that's
Yeah,
our
and also like I appreciate that he takes these tests and he
yeah.
does the biomarkers and he shows the differences, right? And does like the N of one experiments. But Paul Saladino, his sworn nemesis, made a very
I
good
love
point.
Paula Saladino. I hate to say it.
Paul one time was in Ohio and he was at a pool and he was doing a video about how the chlorine in the pool isn't good for the kids. And he'd just been in the sauna and he goes there and he points behind him and he goes, these kids back here, these people, there's no telling what their exposure is. And my cousin John
No
is
way.
standing right there in the video and he just kind of points to him and he goes, these
Wait,
poor
that's so
people.
funny. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
But Paul brought up a really good point, which is, I think is very true, is that if you're taking 100 supplements a day,
Yeah.
how are you truly healthy?
No. Yeah.
Like,
I completely agree. I
yeah.
think like for a while, like when I first started like this journey and like supplement wise, like my doctor gave me like way too many. Not in her fault. Like she was trying to help me, but like it was too almost too overwhelming where it goes back to the nervous system. Like I was stressing about my supplements that I was taking them at the right times, that I was doing it the right way, that like it almost made it worse. Like I feel like sometimes like simplifying it honestly is helpful. And then just to mention like one supplement for me that particularly has been super helpful is liposomal glutathione because
Mm.
when you are exposed to mold in particular, it depletes the glutathione in your body, which is like the master antioxidant. And my energy levels and just in terms of how I feel has felt so much better since taking that. Like that is like my number one right now because it has helped so much.
I love combining that one with NAD.
Yes, yes. Those two are just, oh my God. You get it. Because like your energy is just like, whoa, like
Listen,
this is how a
I
normal person feels. No, I get it. Like it's
listen,
crazy.
I went and did the IV.
Oh, you
Have
did.
you
I've never done one before.
Glutathione's awesome.
Yeah.
So I did glutathione first just by itself. and
Again.
they pump you up with it. And like I have like these little floaters in my eyes sometimes,
Yeah.
completely went away.
It's
And I
crazy.
was like, fantastic. Followed up with NAD, and I had heard Hubes talk about it, and I was like, okay, I know it's going to be uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable.
Really?
It feels like
Wow.
someone's standing on your stomach.
Wow.
If you do one, I would definitely do the like carve out a few hours and just do it
Okay.
slow, but you'll feel like that flush come through. And
It's
when
crazy.
I hear people do them in like 30 minutes, like you're a psycho, just
Gosh, yeah.
powering Zofran down and just God bless them.
Yeah, I've only taken both like just like liposomally, so like
Yep.
it's just like a little squirt bottle. You just squirt into your mouth, like switch it around and then
Yep.
swallow. I've never done IV before, but I've heard they are incredible.
Y- I walked out of there. I was like, I'm cured. I
Wow.
felt phenomenal
How long
for.
did it last for?
So I'll say this. My understanding is that if you're doing the IVs, and the IVs are very expensive, like
Totally.
I was doing one every other week, and it was like $800 every single
Yeah.
time, right? So the my understanding is you're supposed to do a loading dose for a week. That's like 750 milligrams every other day for 7 days or 7 doses.
Oh
And
wow.
then you do a maintenance dose however often you need. I didn't do that. I just did the one time and then I would do another
Yeah.
one in a couple weeks and
Gotcha.
then I would do another one like a month and just like see how long I could get it to stretch out. The
Yeah.
longest I got it to go was about 2.5, 3 weeks ish.
Wow.
And I would say like the first week and a half felt like Superman.
That's awesome.
And the
The
second
best
week and a
feeling when
half,
you feel
I
good.
felt like just the man.
Wow.
And then that next week, I felt like Sam again. But it was great because if I had a vacation, if I had like a flight, if I had
Mhm.
one of these things where it's going to be very stressful on my nervous system, it's going to flare it up. I'm going to feel so tired. I
Yeah.
knew I could go in and for the cheap price of $800, I could power through the week
Yeah.
and the only downside was it was like 3 hours of my time, which was hard to
Yeah.
carve out.
See, that's the other thing that's so tricky with Lyme and why I'm so happy like it's getting brought to attention in terms of like the government is because a lot of these treatments aren't covered by insurance because they don't recognize Lyme and they're so expensive. And let's say someone doesn't have the means to pay for XYZ, like they're not going to get better. And like we have this like mental health crisis in America. And
Mhm.
I think a big part of it is like illness. And I think it's not just Lyme in particular, but like I think like nutrient deficiencies, like just by you saying like just by getting that IV, you felt like Superman, like you're just because you're deficient in a nutrient. Like to me, that's so like, wow. What if everyone could have adequate nutrition and like feel good? Like, would we have as much mental health crises as we do right now? Like, I don't know. I feel like that's a question we can ask,
This
but like, it's crazy.
this is my passion project. And this is
Yeah.
like my goal is literally like 5, 6 years. I want to sell my company and I want to take the
Yeah.
money and then first buy myself a sauna. And then number two,
And
I
a bear hyperbaric changer.
want to take this money and I want to start like a health clinic. Specifically, like I want to do it for kids because it really concerns me like how many kids are, overweight and mentally struggling in some capacity. And
Totally.
that whether it's a cure or whether it is just an enormous help for their symptoms,
Yes.
I want to be able to provide those resources as cheaply as possible. Even if I make no money on it and I lose money, like I want to be able to do that and help kids. And like, you talk about Lyme, like I was just talking with a doctor the other day, like
Yeah.
the number of Lyme cases on their eyes here is insane.
And it's
I
only
don't
gonna
know
get
someone
worse.
who's not, it's to the point where like I come home every night and like paranoid checking myself for ticks
Yeah.
because it's so rampant. And I'm really worried.
It's also crazy too that like Lyme in particular, like I took antibiotics almost right away because I got a bullseye rash when I got it,
Mm.
and I still had it chronically. Like, just taking antibiotics isn't always enough, and like people aren't well versed on it. And that's like part of something I want to do is like spread awareness for it because it is such a prevalent issue and it has such an effect on energy, but also mental health. And like I've known cases where people have had Lyme for 10 years and they have no idea, but they're chronically depressed, chronically anxious, and like don't know why. And like it's almost like a root cause. And it's like, how can we bring more attention to this? because it's so prevalent. And I think it's only going to get worse because like it's not just going to go away,
No. I
especially
mean,
in the
you talked
Northeast.
about like how much money people spend just trying to get diagnosed. Like you got to think that person who was depressed and anxious, like how many like did like Lexapro and other
Yep.
things did they get put on
Right.
when that was never the issue?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's it's scary. That's why I think we just got to bring light to it as many
Yeah.
ways you can because like nowadays it's way easier to just give a pill and like be like, okay, like go on with your day. And like obviously like sometimes that's totally necessary,
Yeah.
but it's also like how can we integrate functional with traditional medicine rather than just like, oh, just functional medicine or just traditional. Like I feel like for me like when I first all this I wanted to go all functional medicine like and there is a time and a place for traditional medicine, like
Yeah.
whether that be antibiotics, like it obviously like you need it sometimes, like
Yeah.
whether that be medicine, like it's definitely a place. And I think that's where my ego has been like, okay, like it's okay if I need to take something, like it's okay if it makes me feel better. But I think it's like, how can we do it in a way where you're integrating both, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. I mean, you talked about Alzheimer's earlier. I literally just saw this earlier this morning,
Yeah.
was a study that just finished in Cell Reports, where they gave mice in the study a compound called P7C3A20,
Okay.
which completely reversed advanced Alzheimer's
Wow.
in the mice. And what it does is it normalizes NAD levels in the brain.
See, that's wild to me. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that is so fascinating.
So it was specifically, I'm reading off of this thing
Yeah.
here because I don't
Like
want to
that's
get this wrong.
crazy.
But basically, it restores by activating the NAMPT. I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to give it a
Go for
shot
it.
here. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Nicotinamide phosphorybosylate transferase,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
rate limiting enzyme in the NAD plus salvage pathway. This enhances the conversion of nicotinamide to NMN, which is then used to replenish intercellular NAD levels. Unlike direct NAD precursors, like taking NMN, which I've taken
Yeah.
before, and there's
Right.
NR and a few other things you can take, right? Which can elevate NAD plus levels potentially to superphysiological levels.
Right.
PCC3A20 helps maintain proper NAD homeostasis, specifically under stressful conditions like those in neurodegenerative disease without over elevating
Is
NAD.
this a peptide?
I believe it would be a peptide of some kind. They
Dang.
gave it to them. It's not a, they haven't started human trials yet. They
Okay.
gave it
Okay.
via an intraperitoneal injection. I'm not 100% sure what peritoneal would be,
Okay.
but
That's
hope,
fascinating though. Like
yeah,
just like we were talking about, like mental health wise, like I'm not saying like these things aren't like obviously they're super prevalent, super like I'm not taking it away from anyone, but like
no,
maybe it's like a nutrient deficiency too, like in tandem
yeah,
with that, Like I think it's definitely something that can be explored, but I'd lo honestly if you could send me that, I would
yeah.
love to read that. That
I'll send that to
sounds
you.
so
I mean,
interesting.
40% of the pot, I mean, he gets a lot of crap online, I know, but he's right. Like Gary Brecka talks about how many people have MTHFR gene, and
I have
people
it.
act like I have it too.
Yeah.
I got tested for it and found out that I don't have like the worst case, but it's like a 40 to 50% reduction,
Well,
right?
yeah, it's quite crazy because I think there's two different types you can have.
Right.
And 40, I think like 40% of the population, which is a lot, has that one type. I unfortunately have both.
Oof.
So I have it for my mom and my dad. So that's like 13% of the population. But still, like it makes it so hard to break down like folate. So if people are told all the time, like take folate, take folate. But like you are literally like not allowing your brain to work properly by doing
Yeah.
that, and not absorbing the B vitamins, which
You're just overloading it with stuff it can't use.
exactly. And like people don't know that. How are you supposed to know that if you've never been tested for that or don't know anything about it? Like
And a bunch of people are supplementing folic acid.
exactly, exactly. And like glyphosate and like folate and like all these things, like
Mm.
it's just like if that accumulates over and over again, like is that Alzheimer's? Like that's the question I have.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know. It's
that's what I had wondered is like you said, like, when we talk about the metabolic dysfunction in the brain and Alzheimer's being a type of diabetes potentially or being like an overload of all these different
Yeah,
things. My one of my issues has been metabolic dysfunction
me too.
and going about trying to heal it. And my understanding is that there are sort of like five junctions within the cell where, if there's an issue at a junction, then energy will not be produced properly.
Yep.
And junction one, if you're going to fix it, is NAD, and it kind of hits everything downstream. But like the next one is B vitamins,
Yep.
right? So if you're someone who, like us, has MTHFR, so you're getting some reduction in the B vitamins, right?
Right.
Maybe so you're just barely hanging on, right?
Yeah.
And you get all these other things loaded in, and all of a sudden, like you said, like your metabolism isn't functioning properly,
Right.
all of these things just go out. And like I said, just getting those NAD levels back or getting the B vitamins level,
Yeah.
you'd be shocked how quickly things will get better when you just give the body the stuff it needs.
It's so true. And I think I honestly just listened to a human podcast. It's one of his newer ones on like mitochondrial health and like how much that can have an impact. I know this is like still theorized out there, but there's some doctors that have theorized that like metabolic dysfunction in terms of like mitochondrial health is the root cause of so many different diseases. And
Yeah.
like, I think that makes a lot of sense to me because if you have no energy, what is the powerhouse of the cell? I mean, I feel like we learned this when we were younger, like it's the mitochondria.
Right.
I think giving that mitochondria sufficient energy to make ATP, like through hyperbaric oxygen or giving it the proper nutrients it needs, that will help heal a lot, in my opinion. And I think for me, it has. I feel like you probably are in the same boat. Like, I am so open to learning about whatever. And like,
Yeah.
I think when I started this journey, I was very close-minded. Like, this is the right way. When I started carnivore, I was like, oh my God, I found the cure. Like, this is perfect. But like, I think it's a lot on this journey is learning to like not be so set in one way. Like what works for you one week might not work for you the next week. And
Yeah.
you have to be okay with that ever changing like nature and don't get so stuck on this is the right thing for this person because
Yeah.
everyone's also so different. Like there's some people that are vegan and are thriving. So like you have to be like, okay, like would I be thriving as vegan? No, but some people are. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's just like
I
so individualized where like you can't hyperfixate on like one solution, which I think I did for a while. And like
yeah.
I feel like I've learned from that
Yeah.
now.
To me, this is like sort of that marriage, like you're talking about, of different medicines, of like
Yeah.
getting better has taken a combination of traditional Western medicine and functional medicine and even some Eastern medicines,
Yeah,
to get where you need to go.
totally.
And, I definitely went into this very skeptical. My background was I had worked at Northwestern Hospital for a bit, and
Yeah.
a big part of what I did was I had to read studies and update the doctors
Yeah.
on very niche studies in organ transplant,
Right.
and found myself in this area of like there is no research,
Yeah.
right? Um, we're kind of off the beaten track because, people haven't put the dollars into COVID or haven't put the dollars into
Right.
Lyme
Yeah.
and all these, and then you find out like, how much research is really just determined by pharmaceutical companies and how I remember we had a doctor that I did not work for, but was in the area and pretty much just did PI for pharmaceutical companies, and
Yeah.
seeing how they set up, like having a legit meeting of, okay, we have a drug that we want to give people. What does the research need to show? And formulating an experiment for that, right? I mean, are you familiar with AZT?
I'm not, no.
So I'll make this quick, but
Okay.
AZT was a drug given to people with AIDS back
Okay.
during the height of the crisis.
Got it.
AZT is a chemotherapy drug that
Okay.
destroys DNA.
Wow, really?
It is incredibly toxic. And
Yeah.
if you take it, it will kill you.
Okay.
And they were giving it to people with AIDS because there was a few other solutions that were being floated forward at the time by doctors who were in the field actually treating people who were
Yeah.
trying to figure out how do we treat this disease.
Right.
And those drugs were not patentable. AZT
Yeah.
was patentable. And so
Wow.
they were really pushing hard to make this drug get through. And what they did was they set up an experiment in Boston, I believe. And what they did was they had the control group, which didn't get AZT, but what they didn't say was some of the people were already taking it,
Yeah.
right? And then they had the group that got AZT. The group that got AZT got 6 times the number of blood transplants and blood
Wow.
transfusions than the control group, just to keep them alive
Yeah.
because they were dying so quickly.
That's
And
absurd.
when
That's
they
so
came out
absurd.
on the other end, they go, look, all of these people are still alive. Less people died in the control group. So AZT helps extend life with people with AIDS.
Yeah.
When they didn't say, like, we had to do all of these other things to keep them alive, and the
Right.
control group was also
So
taking AZT.
deceptive.
That was how they got around it and were able to push it through with a lot of other shenanigans. And like the people that approved it ended up making hundreds of thousands of dollars in royalties, a couple people millions of dollars in royalties
Yeah.
from pushing the drug through. And
It's sad
it
because a
was a
lot of
scandal. Magic
yeah,
Johnson took it briefly and almost
really.
died, and he had to get
Wow.
off of it. What I would tell people is basically they did it with AZT. They do it with so many other things, even like little inconspicuous things. And
Yeah.
I got to see it firsthand. And so
Yeah.
going into this of like, I'm going to try stuff and being very skeptical both of Eastern medicine, but also of Western medicine. I'm sure as you can relate to now, coming to a place where understanding like the order of operations of, lifestyle, supplements, medication, and not being against something inherently because it comes from one or the other.
Totally.
But
I think like everyone's gonna have a unique combination that's gonna work for them. And like what works for you right now might not work for you in 3 months. I think that's something I've had to learn is being adaptable and being okay with like honestly my ego being like, okay, like it's okay. Like you like carnivore is hurting you now. Like you need to stop and like eat something, and like not like holding on to one thing like this is the holy grail. I think everything comes in seasons and like even in life, like everything comes in seasons and you have to be okay with the changing of the seasons and kind of like go with the flow a little bit, which is hard. It's hard to grasp with because if you feel good doing something, especially for us when we've felt so horrible, it's hard to be like, oh no, I'm gonna like I was almost scared to like eat other foods because I'm like, I don't want to feel horrible. But like it was getting to a point where my thyroid was tanking where like if I didn't, I was gonna feel more horrible. So
Mhm.
like I don't know. It's like finding that happy medium. I think everything is gonna be a happy medium, but it's just tough when you have like the Lyme or the mold because throws your system so out of whack. It's like finding that medium again, I think.
What are your for you when you're looking at food? Because I would say food for me is like, a number one. Like
Yeah,
it begins and ends with food,
yeah.
discounting, sleep, which I'm pretty
Right.
militant about.
Me too.
Of,
I'm a
what are the
diva about
things
my sleep.
that you feel like you've relaxed a little bit, like you're not as
Yeah.
militant on it? What are the things that have kind of gone for you from a must-have to a would like? And what has stayed a must-have?
Um, yeah. So like during the week, for instance, I cook every single one of my meals. Like I don't use seed oils. I'm like super against seed oils because they're very inflammatory for your body, especially if you already have a high toxic load. Like it's just another thing your liver has to break down and it can be stored within your fat. Like not even if you're like a thin person, it can be stored within like your subcutaneous fat for up to 6 months. And they're toxic. Like so I'm very anti seed oils. I prioritize like the highest quality protein, I think. Like it's very important because if you're eating, for instance, farmed raised salmon is one of the most toxic foods you can eat, and people think they're being healthy, but the way they're raised, like you are ingesting heavy metals, like plastics, like it's horrible.
Dies.
Exactly, exactly. And like what's so like what makes me so angry is like how deceptive it is because people think they're being healthy. And like I think particularly like my grandma who had Alzheimer's would do a lot of those things, like eat things that were healthy or like I think it's advertised a lot like going like low fat is healthy, but like
Yeah.
fat is one of like it's like a pillar like for your being able to create cholesterol, which is what your hormones are made out of. Like you need fat. Like and I think like there's a lot of like false narratives surrounding that. And like I think for instance, like nowadays too, there's a big like dieting culture where people think it's calories in, calories out, but it's literally it's not even close to that. I think for me, it's nutrients in, nutrients out. So for me, I like prioritize like eating 3 meals a day just to like keep my blood sugar stable. I try to eat at the same time every day too, which
Hmm.
isn't always feasible, but I try to because your body craves routine. At least mine does. And I think when it's like has a set routine, I know like my digestion is more optimal. On the weekends, like again, like I think something I alluded to earlier is like another part of health is the social aspect. And I will go out to eat. And like most of the time, yes, when you go out to eat, it's probably cooked in seed oils. And I think for a while I was very like, no, I can't do that. And now I'm a little more lax with that. Because I'm like, all right, like I think about it almost like this. You eat, let's say 3 meals a day for 7 days of the week. That's 21 meals. If you're eating 20 out of the 21 meals like cooked by yourself, like, and you feel okay, then like I feel like that's okay.
Hmm.
But on the other end of it, if you're in like the midst of like a Lyme flare, that's when I get like super strict because that could be the needle that like the thing that like pushes the needle to make me feel horrible. So I think it also really depends on like where you are health wise.
Hmm.
Because I feel like for me, I was super, super strict on all of this stuff for like 2 years. And because I was like that, I now have a little more of the autonomy to do 80/20, or even I feel like I'm more even like 90/10. But then again, like if for someone else, like you have to go 100, like you have to do what's best for you.
Go
Like
100, baby.
exact go 100, like hundo. But like I think a lot of times people too would tell me like, "Oh my gosh, you're too serious about it too." But that's just a reflection of themselves too. Like they're like, "Wow, like I'm not doing that." And like for a while I'm like, "Yeah, maybe I am too serious about it." And I think I was. Like I think I was like a little too into it where I was like, "All
Hmm.
right, like I could take a step back." But the reason I was I just wanted to feel good. So that's
Yeah.
kind of where I am now.
Do you eat with do you eat in line with circadian rhythms?
Yes, that is like one of the most important things in my opinion
Okay.
because
How have you dealt with this? We obviously just had the time change like
yeah,
last month and
it's
you know,
tricky. It's
yeah,
really tricky because I mean, this is a little extreme, but like in an ideal world, I'd like to only eat when the sun's out because
same.
that's
Absolutely.
like how your digestion is meant to be. But for instance, like in Boston, the sun doesn't rise till like 7:30, like in like peak winter, and then sets at like 4:30. And I'm like, how am I supposed to do this? So I just try to do it as optimally as I can. Um, yeah, but circadian rhythm is very important. And I think even just in terms of like what you're eating, like for instance, in winter, like eating more warm, grounding foods because that's what
Mm.
your body's craving during that time. Like, and then during the summer, like you can eat or like eat like lighter foods, like watermelon, for instance, because you're needing more hydration, I think is very helpful. But it is tough. It is tough. And like oftentimes I like say to myself, like maybe I should be living in a place where it's warmer, like I can be outside more often because
Yeah.
maybe I'm more aligned with that. But for now, I do love Boston. So I'm like, okay. But then I'm like, I have free will. Like I could live somewhere else. I
That's
don't know.
that's my thing of like, would it be better to be like in like Tennessee area or,
Yeah,
I Florida down south,
yeah,
you have a longer growing season. Like,
yeah.
I would love to be able to grow a lot of my own vegetables and
Me
food one
too.
day, just
Yeah,
so I
that's the
can
dream.
have eyes on and know what went into
Yeah,
it.
totally.
And, I love avocados. You can't grow them up here. So,
Yeah, no.
but I could get them going down in Florida. And, it's like
Yeah,
you said, it's more sun and all these other things, but also, there's so much. I'm from the Northeast
me
originally, and
too. Yeah,
families up here, and like, if
yeah,
I went to Boston, for example, where it's like, I'm kind of for next summer looking at like, I'd love to get an apartment somewhere, where do I
yeah,
go? And,
yeah,
Boston, I have so many friends in the area. I
yeah,
know people, like a family. But in my head, I'm like, would Tennessee be better? I don't know anybody in Nashville, but
yeah.
probably feel a lot better. But again, the social aspect's a big part of it.
It
And
is. It really is. Like, I don't know. That's where it's tough. I think in the end, it's where you're meant to be. You're gonna end up there somehow or some way.
yeah.
Um, you just have to trust it. That's kind of where I'm at with it. But I do grapple with the idea like maybe I should be somewhere where it's warmer, but I don't know. I do love it in the summer, so
Yeah, and that's
worth
you like you said,
it.
you have free will, you can travel and you can do
Yeah,
all these different things and
totally.
not in the same way you said, like not getting married to a supplement or a routine, not
Exactly.
getting in unless you have kids in a house, you're not locked in and even then
Exactly.
you can always get up
Everything's
and move.
adaptable. Yeah. Yeah. That's a big lesson.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we've been going for a while now. Thank
Yeah,
you
no, but
so much for
I
coming back
honestly
on.
I could talk about this stuff forever. So thank you. This is really awesome.